I feel like everybody is sick these days, and myself included. I got a pretty gnarly sore throat at the moment. So I want to walk you through a process of making homemade, easy, very simple actually, homemade cough drops, sore throat drops, lozenges, whatever you want to call them. Significantly more healthy than at the store, significantly cleaner if you want to call it that. Very, very simple. So the ingredients that I have, I grew in the garden for the most part. Obviously I didn't grow honey in the garden, but there's a whole list to walk you through this process. If you prefer reading it, there'll be a list in the description. Here's what we have. We have thyme that I grew in the garden, we have chamomile that I grew in the garden, and what I did is I took 1.5 teaspoons of thyme, and then I took about a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, kind of in the middle between half and one teaspoon of chamomile, and I put them in a pot with 1/4 cup of water, and I let it simmer. You want to make a really, really, really condensed strong tea, and that's what I have in here. So next I'm going to strain it and add my honey to it. So I'm going to use, I would prefer to be using like homestead honey, like either stuff that I made, which I don't have bees, so that's not even possible at the moment. But I usually get it from a local farm, from the same town, so that's preferable. We ran out of that. I don't really have the time or feel like going to go get that today, so we have some just regular store-bought. It's pure organic, raw and unfiltered. That's very important. You want it raw and unfiltered. We're gonna use 1/4 cup of this, and then also a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, I made fermented honey. This fermented honey is raw honey, unfiltered, with red onion and garlic in it. It's really great for sick season, helping prevent getting sick, and once you're sick, also just getting better quicker, faster. So just between the antimicrobial aspects of it, just there's a ton of different reasons, anti-inflammatory reasons, really great. So I'm going to add a little bit of this. You don't want to make it the majority out of this, it'll be too strong, especially because we're going to be cooking this down into like a really condensed version of all these ingredients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strain into this saucepan my super condensed version of this tea. There's actually not even a ton left after I condensed it down. Just press the leaves a little bit, make sure I get all the liquid out. And now we're going to add our honey. I'm going to use the majority of this right here. This is about 1/4 cup. And what we're going to do is we're going to heat this pretty significantly, stirring it constantly. We don't want it to burn. What we're essentially doing is reducing it down, kind of removing all the water out of it so that it ends up getting hard, essentially like making hard candy out of it. If you have a thermometer, you want to go to 300 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, what you could do is you could heat it until, and do like what they call the water test. And if you have a cup of water, if you drop it into the water, it should harden right away as you put it into the water. So that's another option. So I'm going to stir these around, constantly stir it so that we don't let it burn. And then after that, what we're going to do is take it and do little droplets onto this parchment paper and let it cool. And then you can either do one or two things so that to prevent sticking. We're going to put either arrowroot or powdered sugar. You know, I don't love the idea of powdered sugar, but if it's going to prevent them from sticking, it could be helpful. Now, the reason why we use these ingredients: honey coats the throat, it's antimicrobial, and it helps reduce coughing. Thyme is antiviral and antibacterial. It also is really great for like the sore throat area because, like, you know, you have all that junk going on, so it helps kill that stuff. It also helps relax the throat muscles. Chamomile is anti-inflammatory. It helps calm irritation. It also helps relax you in case you want to. It helps you sleep if you need to sleep. So you could change these things out. I saw some things where you could put ginger. You could put a little cinnamon. We're actually going to add a little lemon at the end of this too. So keep that in mind. So again, there's a whole list of ingredients at the beginning in the description of this video. So keep an eye out for those. All right, so let's heat this up. This is kind of what it looks like. You can see that there's the sauce on top. We're going to just kind of mix this around. So as this is heating up, it's starting to bubble over. You can see a bit like getting nice and hot. And essentially you're creating candy out of it. And what you're doing is reducing all the water down, and you're essentially crystallizing the sugars in here. So you'll actually feel like crystals start to form on the bottom. That's why you want to keep mixing, otherwise it'll continue to burn. It'll start to burn. So keep mixing it on the heat of 300 degrees. All right, so the temperature now reads 300. We're gonna add a little bit of lemon in. I'm gonna strain it so those seeds get in. And then we're gonna spoon it onto the parchment paper and create little droplets out of it. Adding some lemon, stirring that in. Super bubbly at the moment. I don't know if you can see that. Like super frothy and foamy. Cough drops. Essentially, almost kind of similar process of making caramel. Just gonna heat it up a little bit further, just to make sure it's like totally at temperature, reducing all the water, caramelizing, crystallizing all of the sugars in it. I'd rather it be over crystallized than under crystallized, without burning it. So check this out. This is the water test. I'll put a little bit of this in the water. See it drip? And it instantly turns rock hard. I don't know if you can see those at the bottom of there. They turned into little droplets. So we're ready. We're good to go. We're going to now spoon this onto the parchment. All right, so I let them cool and harden off. And now you can see that they're in there in a mason jar with a little bit of powdered sugar, just so they don't stick together. But let's try it. I mean, I think I burned it a little, let's be honest. I think I'd overcooked it a tiny bit. It has a slight burnt flavor, but it tastes like honey. I feel the coating on my throat. Definitely worth giving it a try. Absolutely, pretty simple. And I did it home alone with a 2.5-year-old and an 8-week-old. So that's how simple it is. Took like maybe 20-30 minutes. Definitely doable.